I like it a lot. Now that I can get behind. Oh, shit. Now run it for 100 cycles and tell me how it goes. By the way, are you not scared of your temp shift plates warming up tiles, by the way, Saturnus? I've been trying to avoid placing them in direct contact with tiles, but are you just using that as an extra bit of added, you know, mass in the room? So I've sort of stopped doing the, you know, like here where you've got them in contact with walls. I've stopped doing it. But I suppose you can just use the extra mass, couldn't you? You know, you're cooling the whole thing. That's much better. With your stubborn ass. So we cap that temperature at the top later. Right, so what should happen here, as long as we don't lose all this liquid? Water will drip down here, and we'll notice a column will start forming down the middle. Okay. Now the reason I saved that before is we'll try this with the temp shift plates as well. Okay, so there's our water, and there's our cooling column. Okay, so our water here is at like 9 degrees because this vent's been heated up a little bit by the air and stuff as it's started flowing down. But you'll notice this will start changing this column. Okay, if we actually got rid of a bit more of the surface water, it'd happen quicker. But if we go in Alt Z, you can see what's basically happening. It's dripping down and changing the temperature. We mop a little bit of this. Got a bit too much water. Now we can maybe try with our temp shift plates if we can spread this along. So, if we go on to utilities, let's try this. This might heat up our water, that's the only thing. Yeah, you see? So we've now just changed all this. So basically, whatever we put up here, if I was to put a, let me see, how can I show you again? Let's see. Let's get rid of these. Let's get rid of these background buildings. Let me see if I can paste in like a tile of dirt or something. Let's see if that'll actually do the same thing. Dirt, and if we say 273. If I put that there, look at the colour of the water now. That's not the effect that I wanted. Yeah. Let's get rid of you. Oops. It's very pretty. It's very pretty, but you can see the effect that surface cooling affects basically. I feel dirty already. No way I'm going to run it for 100 cycles. 10 was enough to confirm the automatic temperature control works beside as it looks. By the way, the temp shift plates are iron ore, so it's a pretty impressive build when you restrict yourself to using only non-exotic materials. No tungsten tiles either. Well, the only thing is, once iron gets cold, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. The only benefit you get from tungsten is how quickly it changes, isn't it, really? Like, once it's cold, it's cold. It'll stay cold for a long time. See, this visual is what does it for me. These clear columns. It's very, very naughty. But there you go. That maybe explains it a little bit more. The reason I say this, I had a discussion with R9M something on the forums. I forget his name, but he's a guy that looked into the code and looked at a few different things. And we were having a discussion about whether the liquid needs to actually interact with a tile. It needs to hit a tile and hit the water, or if it can interact with objects that are built in the world. So for example, I've just built these ladders. They're not in contact with the liquid, but if I equalize them out, you know, if I spawned in a shitload of ladders, when the water, oh, fuck, it's easier if I show you a different way. When the water level hits those ladders, it will instantly balance out the temperature of the water. So if let's start this again. If I deconstruct, let's load the other save, and I'll show you what I mean. we had a bit of a discussion about it, and I didn't agree with what he was saying because I couldn't replicate what he was saying. The plates don't seem to be contributing that much. No, I can show you now, Adel. I can show you. Saturnus, I have nothing against your build, as I say. I just have a problem with the fucking bug. I have nothing against it. But can 4 Weezewarts do the same amount of cooling as an Aquatuner? How much cooling is an Aquatuner in watts? Is 4 Weezewarts able to keep up with that? And 2 electrolyzers plus pumps. Seems a lot. Right, okay. So we'll try this slightly different this time. So we'll have a load of stuff up here, just in the room, okay? And let's actually see if it matters if it's a vacuum first. How can I do this easily? Let's just wall you off. Okay, we'll clear all this crap. Clear all this shit. So we'll make you a vacuum. All being well. You're being a jerk. Please just be a vacuum for me. Be nice. Why not be vacuum? I'm asking you to fill this with vacuum. I don't think it can fill airflow tiles. Son of a bitch. Whatever. Okay, vacuum. Water. 1,000 and 373.15. Okay, we don't need to go as high with this. I should be able to explain it a little bit easier, I think. I just don't need this much. I'm trying to avoid overpressurizing it too much. It's a bit easy then. So 1050, 30, 22. That should be fine. So what I'm now going to do, I'm going to put a shitload of water in this other tank and pump it in. Alright. So this is going to be hot water as well. And we'll have you come in all over the place. Doesn't really matter. We'll do the same things we did before. We'll toggle you off. Now this is where it really confused me. So if we put a load of stuff in the room, so let's say we'll make it all out of abyssalite as well for argument's sake. So I'll just let this water level settle a bit. I don't think that should be in contact with the... No, that's not in contact with the water yet, okay? So we've got a load of stuff. And then if I get some... use some other tiles as well. Let's use some temp shift plates. We'll make them out of... whatever. What have we got? Igneous rock. So you can see all the shit that we've got in the room, yeah? But at the moment the water is remaining unchanged, okay? If I now pump in water, hot water through here, we're going to add hot water to the room. The only thing that's in the room is these temp shift plates and ladders, right? That's it. So if I toggle this on, we'll do a little Alt-Z. What should happen is when the water gets above this level, so when it fills this level past 1,000 kilos and moves on to the next level, you should see the water temperature equalize out based on the temperature of these 20-degree ladders, right? There's not a lot of mass in a ladder, but it should equalize out the room basically. See that? Now what you've basically just done is taken the cooling out of these temp shift plates and cooled all your liquid with hot water. It's weird. So does that explain it a bit more? The bore cube runs for 3 seconds, the shortest time it can every 7 cycles. Yeah, I did, as I say, I built one down here, I think. Yeah, I built one down here, and it just iced my world. I left it on without looking at it, and it just iced everywhere. I have taken everything about this on board, so I do like the idea. It's just I can't bring myself to use it. So yeah, it's weird. The annoying thing with it is mostly it's so difficult to actually avoid. Exactly, that's the thing. And it comes in so many different forms. Like I've tried to use it. I've tried to avoid using it in this build, but I technically am. But I've tried to keep this water at a high pressure as possible, so it's like I'm not trolling myself, if you know what I mean. Like in here I have it so that the pumps only activate, or rather water only gets pumped into here if it's above 800 kilos. But technically I've got temp shift plates here. You know, I've got temp shift plates that are in my build. This is the water cooling build that I showed on YouTube. It's hard to avoid because I want temp shift plates in this room to balance out my temperature, but I also need to pump in liquid. So it's always just there. It's always something that's very difficult to avoid. But I had a discussion with a guy on the forums, and he was like, I can do the same thing with Weezewarts. I said, well, I don't think you can. Not without some sort of exploit. I'm not that you can't not cool your oxygen, for example, that's Turns' build, but you can't cool geyser water down. He's like, no, I can do the same thing with 4 Weezewarts. I don't think it's possible unless you use an exploit. He came back later and said, no, I think I had a look again. I think I was using an exploit. It's just everywhere. There's not much you can do about it. But anyway, right, let's get out of debug. Let's get back in the base. I'm going to need to close on it and reload it and turn debug off. What if you put the outlet under the water? If you overpressurize it, you mean with some oil or something? I don't think it would matter. I don't think it would matter. You could overpressurize it with like have some gas permeable tiles underwater with oil in there. How would your liquid get out? The liquid could bubble up. I don't really know. I think it's very much about the surface liquid. But listen, there's going to be many of these bugs come and go. This one's just a powerful one. And it's a powerful one that potentially takes all the threat out, the outbreak update, occupational update, which is heat. That's the main threat in this update, and makes it trivial. Really trivial. And that's why it's a powerful one. Right, let's get you loaded. But there was an interesting thread. A guy posted about he was cooling geyser water with Weezewarts liquefying CO2 and dripping it into the water, which is an old thing from May last year. People started doing that just by accident when they were cleaning out their hydrogen cooling geysers, which was really common back then. You'd always end up with some CO2 in the room because your dupes would be breathing when they were building your room, and you'd end up liquefying some, and you get like this little bubbler effect. And this guy posted it, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't realise that bug was back. So I started doing some tinkering with it, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work how we thought. There's lots of things that come and go, and you know, they work for a bit and then they get fixed. So I try not to build too many exploits into my bases if I can. Certain things like water locks I don't think are going to change anytime soon, until they totally change the mechanics of liquids in the game. But I think that needs them to bring in pressure, which I don't know if they'll ever do. You know, like pressure displacing things a bit easier. Right, let's build a few temp shift plates in here. What do I want to build them out of? Build them out of igneous. And we'll just basically like unite the floors or something. Just to spread the heat around a little bit. That should do. Okay, this needs to be connected, doesn't it? I forgot. I was in the middle of doing this. Let's do you with a 7. Oops. 6, 6, 6, 6. Besides, water locks have a noticeable downside. No need to fix. Yeah, you do get the stress burden, don't you? That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, saying that, if you did just a U-bend, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a common physics thing, isn't it? You know, if you just had a U-bend with some liquid in it, that's absolutely fine. I just choose to do it a slightly cheaty way of combining two liquids. You know, you sort of get the same debuffs anyway. So this is going to heat up our water quite a bit, which means our aqua tuner is probably going to need to be a bit more active. But it is what it is. If I get cold generators, I'll be happy with that. I'm debating putting in this gate, as I say. I just don't know where I'd do it. So I didn't leave much room in here. Maybe do it here. Shit the bed. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay, we'll change this automation up a little bit. So maybe if we have something like you come along here and come into deconstruct you. I'm going to be muttering for a minute whilst I sort my chimp brain out. You're going to come to there, and we'll have you connected across here. We'll have a little AND gate. It's going to look a little bit derpy, but it should work. So I'll let them finish all this wire and stuff, and then we can connect it back up. We also need to crack on with this as well in a minute. But hoping they don't drop any shit down in this room. So you can be connected. And I'm just put a thermo switch here on the way out. So water's coming in at 15, coming out at 16 at the minute. Your sinks U-bend for that reason? Yeah, exactly. Or technically an S-bend in most British sinks anyway, I think. Or is it toilets that have an S-bend? I'm not a plumber. I don't know shit. I know there's one that's often used. Is it the S-bend that's normally used for toilets and the U-bend for sinks? It's something like that. Probably one so that poop doesn't come back. Right, let's sweep all this crap. Anything else might have been dropped in here. I think we're okay. And then we'll knock out these ladders. Don't know why they're priority 9, but whatever. And then we'll throw a little thermo switch in here as well. Shaboom. Kind of need this to hurry up. Don't want to be pissing away all my hydrogen, truth be told. Which we've used a lot of hydrogen. Holy shit. Holy balls. Whilst that's nearly done, let's start thinking about this. So, plumbing. No, ventilation. Pumps. Many pumps. We're going to want at least 4 in here. So, if we assume that one is... there, there, and there, and there. Okay. And then we'll have... need 2 pipes coming out, don't we? So like you going that way, you can bridge into there, you go on that way. Bridge into there. Please sweep this up. What is this? Oh, it's coal. I don't think I need to sweep up coal. Is it just coal or is there some other shit? Granite. Okay. I should do a little auto hatch feeder as well. I forgot about that. But we're swimming in coal at the minute, I think. How much coal have we got? We've got 200 tons of coal, which is really why I want to get this working. We've got way more coal than we have hydrogen. Oh, apparently S-traps are illegal in some places because they can suck or siphon water out of the trap when water flows down a drain. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I'm not a plumber, mate. I have no idea. But I know there's two different types that are normally used in bathrooms, aren't they? Okay, we'll cancel the sweep on the coal because dude should be able to pick it up anyway. This looks a bit janky, but I'm hoping this will work. So active if below 60. Okay. That should be ready to give us a signal. So if we change these over now, excuse me, active at 15. And you can be active at 10. We'll change this one up a little bit higher actually. Active at 25. Okay, once this net gets filled up, we'll be fine. So we're done in here, I think, for all intents and purposes. So let's shut this up, and then we can mop this other crap. This set to? This is priority 2. Oh, I must have changed these to a higher priority without realising. This should be a priority 3, and then these can all be like a priority 4 or something. That'll be fine. Boop, boop, boop. Cool. Let's see if this works a little bit better. I'm hoping it will. I might leave this here just for now, just whilst we run it for a little bit. It's adding about a degree to our water temperature, which isn't the end of the world, but should be alright. Okay, we've got idle dupes again, so let's start thinking about this. Now, how did I power this one? Just one circuit, and it's this circuit here, which is pretty heavy load. Okay. What do you feed your hatches? Sorry. At the moment, I've been feeding them just minerals. I've got quite a few hatches trapped here. So we've got igneous rock that we've been feeding them shit tons of. We've got, I reckon we've probably got about 100 tons here. We've got a lot of igneous rock, in fairness. Just anything really, whatever you've got a lot of. So minerals wise, I had a lot of igneous biomes, so I've still got 1.3 tons of igneous rock. Yeah, a lot of it. Shit, I need some water. Bollocks, I need some water for my bristle blossoms. Yeah, whatever you've got the most of. If you've got, if you've got a shit ton of sandstone or something that's not very useful, just let me eat that. There's been lots of people talking about on the forums, like, efficient hatch feeding builds and stuff, but just feed them the shit that you don't need. There's only so much base you're going to need to build, and you don't need all these materials. Obsidian's a good one to feed them, because obsidian's kind of lame. Sandstone, obviously, and igneous to a lesser extent now, since the changes to magma. Yeah, just whatever you want, really. I have so much coal sitting in my fertilizer, natural gas gen room. 3 little hatches eating the fertilizer. Little hatches that could. How are you doing, Mr. Puff? Do you have -7? Let's keep an eye on him. Right. Let's do a bit of a sweep here as well. That's something that I do need to do. And let's mop all this shit up. Water. Got about 3 things on the go that I need to do all at once. I'm probably going to do a similar build to up here for my excess water. Maybe. It's no point in having that anymore. How can I do this? Yeah, these have got no more water anymore. I could use some of my starter water, but I'm a little bit scared that I'm going to run out. We've got loads of food. I'm going to